Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back for another training experience. This time we're going to cover the DEAMS reports module and the status of funds that's in there. There's some uniqueness when you're exporting and saving if you want to link to a data connection, so we're going to quickly cover that. Other modules, we'll talk about the other reports in the function. So all we're going to do is we're going to come in here, and I already have it linked to my favorites on my DEAMS homepage for DEAMS reports module. You can come over here and look as well and see other DEAMS reports right there on your navigator. Once you click on that, what's going to happen is it's going to bring up your DEAMS reports application. When it brings it up, make sure that you allow this blue circle oval ellipse, however you want to name it. That's going to have to stop. It's going to be loading everything else. So there's going to be 5 tabs that's going to come up. And it's going to have status of funds near real time, status of funds integrated, ODL, and travel ODL. Status funds, just like Discovery Viewer, every 2 hours it'll update. Status funds near real time, looking at about every 20 minutes for updating that. Your integrated hasn't been functional yet. What they're trying to do is get BQ and legacy-based pulls, bring them over and put them into Oracle. Going from DEAMS to CRIS sometimes doesn't work really well, especially if you're reimbursements. This way they hope coming back the other way is going to work well, and I'm looking forward to that so you don't have to stack data any longer. ODL, very useful, especially for open commitments. We'll cover that in another lesson. But no travel, and now they have just a GU or a travel listing. So for me, I just selected base level. When I selected base level, I allowed the blue circle to stop moving, and it comes up with selection criteria. Here at the top of the selection criteria, there's asterisks and double asterisks. Understand that an asterisk is a required field. A double asterisk is at least one other one is mandatory. So here, include all prior periods. That's always one I like to default to yes. It defaults there, keep it there, because when you talk about your periods, you're talking about your monthly status. So here I always choose the month I'm currently in with the fiscal year I'm currently in. Near the end of the year, you'll switch to September end of fiscal year. You can look at October beginning of fiscal year, but I like to look at my current month as a period that it's trying to cycle through. And understand that the periods, remember, are just the general ledger open and closed periods when we open a book or close a book. So it's going to look through everything else. And then for me, I like to kind of look at my POA, limit my data when I need to. There's other things in here that you can definitely look by. If you just want to open it wide open and just have to choose one of these blocks, choose your OAC or OBAN or choose your OE, and it's there. You can choose multiple of these check blocks. One thing do not check is do not check all. If you want it to be all, just leave it blank. And there you go. So understand all of that. So when we look at this, I'm just going to look at my 1717. I don't have any procurement money or any multi-year appropriations. Click off there, and then I click search. Once I searched, this little blue circle stops spinning, and it produces all of this data down here. Now when the data is produced, notice that you're going to have your date timestamp, your fund, your departments, your main account codes, and everything else that go with it. So once we continue through here, you'll notice there's a reimbursable indicator, which gives you your D fund or your R fund. You got your RCCC and your OC. Notice that it gives you the contingency code and the activity identifier in one column now rather than 3, which is always nice. The one big difference between this status of funds and the status of funds near real time is this status of funds will actually give you the sales code column. The other one won't. And then we have all of our accounting fields, and then all the way down here on the end will be dates once we export it. So we have all of our accounting fields and everything else. Now you can have the option just to highlight as many cells as you want and click Export Selected, or just go ahead and click Export All. When you click Export All, it's going to give you a dialog box down here, and notice it's going to be a zip file. Save that file as to a location. And once you save it to a location, you'll be able to go back in there and take a look at it. Now, once you save that file somewhere to a zip file and you click Open, it's going to open not the file itself, but right to the zip file. Now, notice that mine's defaulting as an Excel. It is a comma-separated value. What happens if we open this as an Excel product? You'll notice right away that when it comes across, we end up with a set of data, just like we saw in there. But now notice some of these fields. BSA, for example, 01 is to the left, which means text in Excel, and 10 is to the right, which means number in Excel. Notice that we also have our RCCCs. Some are scattered left and right. What you'll notice, OCs, how about you'll have your zeros fall off your 117.0000, or if you have OCs that end in 00, you'll end up with just 2 digits. Notice that our numbers, our zeros are to the left, but our numbers that have information are to the right. Our dates are also actual dates, so we don't need to worry about formatting those. But what we end up with is when we go up here, and typically we would go to File and Save As, and we would save it in my documents, and we would save it as an Excel workbook. And what we would save this as DEAMS reports STH, and then we would click Save. That's what we would normally do. But I'm going to show you a different way to do it and why we do it in just a second. So go ahead and close that out. So now notice that if I right click here, I can only open it. But if I copy it, and I bring it up here to my documents and I paste, it's going to tell me, do you want to copy and replace, because I already have it there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say yes, copy and paste it. Boom. There we have it. So now what we've done is we've taken all of this data and we've said, all right, here's this information right here. Here's our comma separated values here. But if we go ahead and click right, now we can open it with something else. So if we come down here to other programs, I'm going to open it in Word. I know, sounds crazy, but it works. And the reason it works is because the way that DEAMS exports data is that it takes the information and it goes from here. So now notice once we open this up in Word, we're just going to go ahead and click on Enable Content. When Oracle exports that comma separated value, the only way that it can make sure that the data stays similar is by inputting a tab character in front of this. So that tab character is what creates that disconnect when we're looking at our information for any alphanumeric characters or any OCs that end in 000. So what we want to do is we just want to go up here to the Replace button and click Replace. And what we're going to do is hit the caret key, or Shift 6 for those of you who don't like carets, and T. This is a tab function. So we're going to hit Tab and Tab again down here. And we're just going to click Replace All. So Replace With is just blank. No spaces, no nothing, just blank. Click Replace All. Now they've made 537 replacement. Do you want to continue searching from the beginning? Yes. Alright, so now what we have is we have data that is completely saved all the way down. So now what I want to do is I want to just click Save. And I want to save, because if I save as, it's only going to let me save it as Word. But if I save, it's going to allow me to end in this file format of CSV. And we're going to say yes. So now we've saved it again. So now what we're going to do is X out of here. And I'm going to show you why we did both. So now if we're going to establish a data connection with the DEAMS real-time, just like we do in the Discover Reviewer status of funds, we would typically just go up here to Existing Conditions, open up the dialog box, click on Browse for More, and then we would find that data connection that we're looking for. So here we would typically find that DEAMS reports STH. Remember that Microsoft workbook from that comma separated values that we opened up? And now we want to open it, and we're going to bring it right in here to a table of rows. Bring it into the table, and now notice over here, notice our RCCCs are gone. Our OCs lost those 3 zeros. That doesn't allow you to really capture anything right here. So now I know that 3, 4, don't know who the squadron is. Right here, don't know who the responsibility center is, but I know that it's here. And here, I don't know any of that data either. This is when we typically import an existing connection. But now remember what we did earlier. We went into Word and we altered a CSV. So rather than going to existing connections, I'm going to go to Data and I'm going to import it from text. And when I import that information from text, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to look for that CSV file that we just saved. So now CSV and text are the same. What I'm going to do is I'm going to import that. And I'm going to make sure that it's delimited, and I'm going to make sure that my data has headers. And then we're going to click Next. Remember, comma separated values, so make sure comma separates your values. Now here's the long process. When we have to do this, each column we have to define as text. So you just go down and up, down and up, down and up, all the way across until you get to the numerical values. So now, once you get to the end here on the work order job order number, and I've made that all text, I can leave the rest as general because they are all numbers. And all I'm going to do is click Finish. And what it's going to do is it is going to import all of that CSV in here. But now notice, look what it did. It kept all my RCCCs. Yes, it shifted them all to the right, but also notice that now all my numbers are numbers and not text. If I go back here to when we just imported the direct CSV, notice that my numbers are not numbers. They are text. So this is the benefit to when you're doing that, to removing those tab characters and importing it. Because now what I would do is I would delete this because we don't need it for saving purposes. And now I would go in here and I would save this as an Excel workbook. And when I do that, when I save this as the Excel workbook, now I'm able to use this data to import into another product with a data connection under existing connections. And now I have raw data that I can manipulate again. Now this looks very similar to Discover Reviewer. So that will help you with other future items going forward. And I hope this helped. If you have any other issues or questions, please by all means give me a call, give me a shout, give me an email. We'll talk soon at the next training.